How's it going, everybody? Doing a console ramble here today. I've done this system before, but it was 3 years ago. I wanted to revisit it just because I do like doing these kind of videos, console rambles and stuff. And they're nostalgic, and it's nice kind of revisiting the memories. And I have a lot of the memories of this console. Maybe one day I don't know if I've ever done a top 5 console ramble or top 5 consoles. But you'll see from the thumbnail, it is the Nintendo 64. Not the best tapping sound. This is not my original. I got this one at a garage sale. I forget when. I forget how much it was. It had to have been, well, I would have been in New York, but I don't know. God, it could have been like 6-7 years ago at this point. I don't know, maybe I've done a video on this. A garage sale pickup, or it was before I started making the ASMR videos, and it's on my other channel. I don't know. It's in decent shape. The reset button was fucked. It was like wedged in there, so I did have to get the tool to open it up and fix that. But it works fine. Got your power adapter going in here, still a beefy one. And the AV cable. Got your expansion pack. That, I think you couldn't play some games like Indie, maybe even like Road Rash. Donkey Kong maybe required. It might have actually come with Donkey Kong. I'll get into that. But 4 controller ports. This was like, this doesn't have the cover on it, but this was like for an expansion of the DD drive. There's another huge thing on here. It might have come out in Japan. I cannot remember. But, and cartridge slot. Listen, I love this system. This is a system I had at that point. I didn't have a Saturn or a PlayStation. Now, I've talked about the original PlayStation. I almost look at it as a little bit of a gaming regret. Not to say I shouldn't have gotten this, but I should have tried to at least gotten that one as well. I mean, the PlayStation came out when I was in 11th grade, I believe, 95. It would have been late 95, so 95, 96 was 11th grade. This came out when I was in 12th. This is when I got it, senior year of high school. Or it came out in like August of 96, and I got it in November of 96. But I was a Nintendo guy. I was a Sega guy too, but I was more Nintendo, and I really just loved the Genesis. I enjoyed the Master System as well, but the NES I would have enjoyed more. And the Super Nintendo and Genesis was back and forth, which one I like more. But just because the PlayStation is such a library, there's so many games I would have enjoyed. Like I can imagine playing Final Fantasy VII when it came out. I would have lost it. I did not play any of these games when they came out. I have since played some, but it's not the same when you experience it that first time when it comes out. Like the Castlevania Symphony of the Night. I would have been all over the Resident Evils. I did play 2 on the Nintendo 64. PlayStation First 3. Silent Hill I would have been into. I would have probably been like, oh, what's this? I think there was some Breath of Fires on there as well. I like those on the Super Nintendo. You know, the Clock Towers, like endless amounts of games I would have been going after. Maybe the GTAs. Just tons of stuff. I'm not going to name them all. This is Nintendo 64. But I regret not having that one as well. I don't regret getting this. Just not maybe trying to go about getting that as well, if I was able to. But, love Nintendo 64. Pretty cool design for the system. It was cartridge-based, which is part of the reason I feel like they didn't get the support that the PlayStation did, because PlayStation, you get your full motion video in there. It's easier to make. It's easier to develop for and stuff. Nintendo was choosing quality over quantity. You could say PlayStation chooses quantity over quality, but the quality still was going to well exceed. If the PlayStation had, we'll just say 600 games, it probably had more. 300 of them were probably great. So you're still getting more quality than the Nintendo 64 anyway. Because the 64 had what, like 300 something games? Anyway, love it. Got in November of '96. That's funny. I talked about this story a bunch of times. We got it. We're hooking it up. My mom and I hooking it up. Because she wanted to see it. You know, she played some of the original NES stuff. Not a ton of stuff, but she knew the stuff too. Mario and all that shit. But we're hooking it up to my Zenith TV. It was like a 20-something inch. 24 maybe. I don't know why that matters. The huge tube TVs. And it had the AV cable, so we're hooking up that. Okay. I never used them at that point. Super Nintendo had them. Even the NES had it. But none of my TVs had that. So I was always using the RF switch. They had that. They would screw it into the back of the system. Back of the TV. So we plug it in, we turn the TV on. We hear it, can't see it. I'm like, what the fuck? And so we called the helpline, I think. I think we probably called this. And the guy was like, not like you're idiots. Because if you didn't know how to switch the inputs, you wouldn't be thinking it. Probably could have just figured it out, but whatever. He's like, I've been getting this call for months. All you gotta do is switch the inputs. And we're like, oh, okay, duh. Something so simple. Because like, why can we see it and not hear it? So boom, just do a switch the input on the thing. And we're like, oh shit, there it is. You can mess around with his face and shit. Big head. The second I get into the game though, it was just like, holy shit, my jaw dropped. My mom was even like, oh my God, this looks incredible. You had to be there, right? You look at it now, you're like, whatever. But when you first see it and it's new, you're like, holy shit, So it was Mario 64, and it was a Christmas present, but I got it early. Because I was probably like, oh, can I just have it? And she was like, yeah, all right, fine, but you're not, this is it. This is your gift. You're not getting anything else for Christmas. So you're just going to have a card for Christmas. I was like, whatever. She was nice like that. I could have waited, but I was so pumped just because I loved new console. Oh, God. And back then, I needed to play it, right? And it was like a month before, maybe a little over a month. She might have got me an additional game, actually, for Christmas. It might have been Shadows of the Empire, actually. Maybe, if I'm remembering right. I've admitted this in the past. I was the only child. I have half siblings, but I was my mom's only child. My dad had other children. So I was. Listen, I've admitted this before in the past. I was spoiled with this stuff. Like I wasn't like full disclosure here. I was an asshole to my mom between like 5th and 9th grade. Not constantly, but I would be an ass. Like I would be a dick if I didn't get what I want. But I apologized. Like in maybe like 10th grade, I was like, dude, I was such an asshole during that time. Not to say I didn't get into arguments and fights with my mom after that, but I was much just a normal kid. No, I mean, kids are assholes from time to time, right? But I had a run of being I should say I was a complete pain in the fucking ass. Anyway. Short one. And then I in high school, I was like, oh my God, I apologize for being such a prick. Just being difficult. And I'm not talking about, I don't know why I'm talking about this now. I'm not talking about, which I would have talked about in other videos, my problems, my like mental problems with school and stuff. I'm not talking about that. That was just me. Like I wasn't doing that on purpose. Like I legitimately felt that way. I couldn't handle it. And that was still strenuous for her. But I wasn't doing that to be an asshole. Like me not like getting what I wanted and being a jerk over a short, because up until like about 5th, 6th grade, I wasn't like that at all. And then I was for a little bit, and then I went back to normal where you'd have your normal. You have your arguments and you fight sometimes with your parents, but they're not, it's not you, it's few and far between, right? But anyway, enough of that. But anyway, so Mario, we're both like, holy shit, this is nuts. And then at that point, I'm getting high, we're smoking. Not me, my mom, but I'm getting high with friends. I'm like, listen, guys, we'd smoke in my garage. I would have talked about this in other videos, life story videos and shit. I bet you guys got to see this. We'd all go upstairs, and like, you got to check this out. And they'd be like, oh, holy shit. Even if they weren't into games, they were like, holy shit, this looks incredible. Oh, the other game, you know what I had? It was Mario 64, and and she got me like Mortal Kombat, and I was like, you know what, I'm not interested in this. So she returned it, and I think she ended up getting Shadows of the Empire, and then she just gave that to me for Christmas. So I think I just had Mario that month, which is all you needed. Back then, all you needed was a game. It was just different. And of course, once you get older and you're getting your own money, and you're not in high school, and maybe you're working, but you're not making a ton, you know, it's different. So each game means more, right? Once you're able to buy them, you can grab. You can just be like, oh, every new game that's coming out, I can buy it if I want to. Maybe not everyone, because listen, money's still piling up even in your early 20s and shit. Right? You don't want to go nuts. But you can get more. But then it was like, oh, this is insane. It was a phenomenal game. It's an incredible game. I don't have my original. I have one original copy game here. I do have some games here. Real quickly, here's the controller. I've did a review on this controller. It's a weird looking controller. It was then. It looks like a freaking spaceship. Like Star Trek or some shit. Star Wars. Sorry about you. The thing went over there. She's laying over it. But very odd position. I would hold it. They want you to hold it like this, right? One hand on there, you play it like this. I held it like this, and I've talked about this. So this finger, this hand was using the back B button. It was just more comfortable for me, and it worked. Some of my other friends would be like, "Oh shit, why are you using it like that?" And then they would start to use it like that. I'd be like, "It's better this way." Because I could hit this button there, it worked better for me. I wasn't good with controlling this with just my thumb, and I feel like I might have did this for a second and didn't like it. And the media was like, "How can I do this another way?" It's a weird controller. I never had a problem with it. The way I used it was comfortable. I liked it. But my friend's kid, much younger, obviously, and he's playing some of the older stuff, and I think he was with my friend, who's his uncle, my other friend, who's his uncle. Their brother is my two friends, and he's like, this. I can't use this thing. He's like, this is weird. It was a crazy controller. I liked it though. It worked for me. I would make controllers work. I don't really have a problem with any controller. Dreamcast didn't have a problem with it. I love the Duke, the original Xbox controller before they made the S. You'd get them in all types of different colors as well. Nintendo would. The console as well. But you got your 64-bit system. Graphics are crazy. You're losing your shit. Because you're jumping from 2D to 3D. And I'm sure this would have been the same for PlayStation as well. If you had that. If I had the PlayStation and all of a sudden I see Final Fantasy VII, I'd be like, oh my god, yes, this is nuts. Or Resident Evil. When if I see him at the time. Well, I think I might have seen, I'm trying to think. Because I had a friend that had the PlayStation. My friend's younger brother had the PlayStation. And I would see some stuff there. I think, was Dynamite Cop on there? Or was that a Dreamcast game? I saw a few games. You'd get, this is not an official one, but controller pack, you needed this for some of the games, would not save. I had another experience. I'd gotten Turok. Not my official copy, but Turok. Love this game. This game I've talked about on my Patreon. I talk about gaming memories of this game, how it meant to me, and where my head was when I started getting panic attacks and stuff, and bad anxiety at the beginning of, the middle part of 12th grade, the beginning of 97. But this is a game I was playing that kind of helped get me through some of those early stages of it. Video games helped a lot back then for that shit. But I got this game just before I started feeling it. Maybe Turok caused it. I'm kidding. And I'm playing, I'm like, oh shit, I couldn't save the game. I need a memory pack. I had the official one, which is smaller than this one. This one I got somewhat recently. Well, probably like 4 or 5 years ago. But you'd put your Rumble pack in here as well. I don't know if the memory card came in a certain game. Like Star Fox came with a Rumble pack. You could obviously buy a Rumble pack on its own. I think Donkey Kong might have come with the expansion pack. Donkey Kong 64. I bought that on its own. I didn't have Donkey Kong. Star Fox 64 came with the Rumble pack. It was in a big box. But you need to save. I couldn't save Turok until I got this. But I love Turok. Like I said, I was going through a lot mentally there, which was new to me, and I didn't understand it. I didn't get to come. I couldn't learn to fight it. I was trying to learn to fight it. New feelings. Oh my god, panic and all this other shit, anxiety. You need to kind of work out things and come up with a way to combat it, right? Playing this helped, and then it lingered on for a while, and it still does, but it was bad at first. So other games also helped later on, a little later on, like Ocarina of Time, right? One of the greatest games I've ever played. A lot of people's favorite game. When I first saw that game, I was like, holy shit, this is nuts. You had a lot of the franchises came back, the Nintendo franchises, such as this. This is the Japanese version that I got for $0.25. Mario Kart. Played a ton of this with my friends. Played it myself. Then we played the multiplayer. You have the balloons over your head, and you gotta knock it. Pop their balloons and shit. Obviously, Mario 64 is great. Shadows of the Empire, I fucking loved. Turok, Star Fox 64 was incredible. F-Zero, was it F-Zero X for the? I think it was F-Zero X for 64, and then GX for the GameCube. I used to play before going to Nassau Community College. I'd be up pretty early before, and either take the train or get a ride to the bus station in Merrick, and take the bus from there to Nassau Community College. And I would be up early, and I'd play. I loved F-Zero so much. I would be playing it before I had to leave. I was like, I gotta play it. I loved it. Fantastic game, fantastic franchise that didn't sell well enough and doesn't get made actually at all. I think they're doing a remake of the original Star Fox for the Switch too. 1080 was awesome. Love playing that. I like some sport games. My friends and I used to play a ton of Knockout Kings. Knockout Kings 2000 maybe it was. I played Madden 64 and loved it. Then I had 01, loved it. But I wasn't as into the sport games as I was in the 16-bit era. I really liked NHL. I think it was Breakaway 98. I played a ton of it as well. Castlevania. A lot of people shit on this game. I'm not saying you're wrong in it. I really enjoyed this fucking game. It was the first one in 3D. It's one of the few in 3D. These two, well, I guess not few. I shouldn't say. There was two on the 64. There's Curse of Darkness, Lament of Innocence, PS2. Curse of Darkness was also Xbox. And then there was the ones that with Gabriel. The ones that were published by Konami, but not made by, I guess, the original. They made by a Western developer. They were cool. I like the first one a lot. Lords of Shadow. So I guess there has been 3. This is the first one, though. I loved it. Could you choose between 2 characters in this one? I really enjoyed this fucking game. I think there's a part, this is the one where there's a part with, you have to, like, safely move dynamite somewhere. Maybe a little un-Castlevania, but I fucking love this game, man. I really did. The second one I had rented, I think he turned into a werewolf in that one. Legacy of Darkness, maybe it's called. But you had cool puzzle games. Well, maybe not many. This is another cool puzzle game, though, Wetrix. I've talked about Wetrix. It's an awesome game. You gotta keep, water's coming down, you have this thing, you gotta protect it by getting blocks to build things, but bombs will come down, and the more water that leaks out, the higher the thing goes, it gets to the top, it's over. But then you get ice to freeze the water, which helps. You can reseal holes, shit like that. It's a cool game. I would check this one out. But you had a lot of fun playing with your friends. Bond, GoldenEye. Fantastic game. I actually played GoldenEye before I saw the movie. Because the movie, I believe, came out in 95. And the game came out in 97. And I played the game, and I was like, this fucking single player is awesome. You play it on different levels. Agent, Double O Agent. What was it? There was 3 levels. Was it regular agent? I don't know if Double O Agent was the last one. But whatever. And there would be different objectives on the difficulty levels, which was cool. So you're doing, it's replayability. You want to do extra stuff, you got to do extra things. And the regular difficulty, you don't shoot any scientists and do the main objective. Then they'd add, you got to hack a computer on top of it as you went up the difficulties. I don't know if it was like Agent, Secret Agent, Double O Agent, I forget. But awesome fucking shooter. The music was incredible. Everything sounded great. Just a sick game made by Rare. Rare. I don't have any of the games. The run they had on the Nintendo 64 was incredible. It was incredible. It was just GoldenEye, Conkers, the two Banjos Kazooies, and I didn't play all of them. They did Donkey Kong 64, Diddy Kong Racing, Jet Force Gemini, Perfect Dark. There might have been one or two I'm missing. But they had a generational run. But it's just a hell of a run for them. But GoldenEye, fantastic. And then I had two controllers at the time. So I'm like, what's this multiplayer about? But you needed at least two players. So I plug in a second controller, and I'm just running around the level shooting the character that can't move. I'm like, this is kind of fun. My friends come over, a few of them had Nintendo 64. They bring the controllers. Dude, all of us were playing multiplayer. Even my friends who weren't into games would play it from time to time. Even though would get their ass kicked, they were just like, this is nuts. We played it for years. We still play it. I've talked about this. Me and two of my friends still play. We don't have a fourth anymore. There's a few of the friends that I still hang out with. The two that I know, it's my friend, one friend's younger brother, and my other friend, known him for years. Years. They still play with me, but we still play multiplayer. But if I have like three other friends that played it back then, but don't care. They're not going to play it. And a few of the other players that were main players back in the day, I don't see anymore. So it's just the three of us, but it's still fun. When I go up there in New York, we're going to try to get a game. When I go up to New York in July, I'm going to try to get another game. But it was so fun. We played regular way, and then we ended up settling with license kill. Because my one friend would hide by the body armor, and he'd keep grabbing it. He'd like get shot down his body armor. Then he'd re-grab it real quick. It was annoying. We ended up doing license to kill was the main one. One shot, one kill. Incredible. Just the fun of it. It was so awesome. Occasionally money would be put on. Money would be put on to spice it up. But it was just something about just talking shit to each other in person instead of online over a headset. It was just more fun. But the multiplayer GoldenEye still holds up to this day as well. Incredible. And we also, like I said, we played a lot of Knockout Kings, which is 1-on-1, Mario Kart 64, and WCW NWO World Tour. We played a ton of it. We played the Battle Royale thing. It's 4 players. You have to throw somebody over the rope, get them out of the ring. It's like a Royal Rumble, but that was WWF. So it's just like a Battle Royale in WCW. And then, didn't do the multiplayer on it, but WCW NWO Revenge was incredible as well. I did not play the WWF ones on the console at the time. What else did I have that I loved? Road Rash 64 was an awesome game. Now, real quickly, back then, games were still very expensive. You know how games are $70 now? Road Rash 64 was $70 back then. I think that came out in '99. $70. My friend and I split it, and we would borrow. He lived right down the block, so I'd have it for a week. I'd give it back to him, and it was fine. We were like, I need it longer, and it worked. We both ended up completing it. Cool game. Not as classic as the Genesis ones, but there was also a few on the PlayStation as well, and I think the PC had. And I think like Game Boy might have had one, Game Boy Advance. That was a cool game. But some games were $60, $70. They might have even popped $80. Because cartridge stuff, it was harder. The PlayStation, I think, was coming out at $50. It's on a disc. Cheaper to make. Cartridge isn't. $70 games. Super Nintendo was the same way. Genesis, NES stuff. NES was kind of all over the place. Some would be 30, some would be 60. And you gotta remember, games were more expensive back then, and people weren't making as much back then. So, that's another reason why you wouldn't have as many games, because they were expensive. Or you'd wait for them to drop in price. But that was $70, split it. You have to take advantage of Christmas and a birthday, you'd get a game. Another cool game, Scooby-Doo. The original one I had was the black cartridge. They did that with a lot of games. Donkey Kong was a yellow cartridge. There's black cartridges. World Is Not Enough, blue cartridge. This is a solid shooter, not as good as GoldenEye. This one was made by EA, but it is not bad. I love this game. It's a cool fucking game. I've talked about Scoob a ton. I love Scoob. But there was a lot of cool games. Indie. Top 5 all-time game for me. All-time game for me. That's what I said, right? Oh my god. This was a Blockbuster exclusive. My friend pre-ordered this at GameStop and they canceled it because it didn't come out in GameStop anymore. They just ended up releasing it at Blockbusters. It made it circulated around. If people like me purchase from Blockbuster, it might end up in a GameStop if you sell it there. I guess it was because of all the glitches. Yeah, this... no, I love this fucking game, though. My friend and I played the shit out of this game. We would swap on and off, played it for hours. Sometimes we were stuck in a puzzle for hours. Awesome fucking game. One of my favorite of all time. Top 5 game for me. Love indie. I'm not going to go nuts about indie. I've talked about indie a ton. But there was a lot of cool stuff for the system. What else did I play? What else did I have back then? Talked about Zero Star Fox. I loved. 1080 I talked about. There was some solid racing games like Cruising USA and shit like that I think was on there. I didn't have any other racing games. I have the NASCAR game now, but back then I wasn't super into racing stuff. I still am not. That and fighting are like my 2 least favorite genres. I've played some and like some, but I'm not overly into them. What else did I play? I had Majora's Mask, didn't play it fully. It was still a cool game. Ocarina of Time. One of the greatest. Loved it. Had strategy got for that one. But it's just another amazing experience. A lot of great experiences on Nintendo 64. And it was fun playing the multiplayer with friends. You know, just a fantastic console. Didn't have a big game library, but they did have enough to where I had my fill. I do regret not having a PlayStation back then for sure, but I don't regret having the Nintendo 64 because there was a lot of great stuff. I'm trying to think of some others that I had back then. I said Shadows of the Empire, then Rogue Squadron came out, which I had rented back then. I own it now. Mission Impossible, I had rented, now I own it. What else? I mean, I probably covered pretty much all the games I had outside of a few. Mario Kart. Pretty much all the bigger Nintendo franchises. I mean, Mario 64 is incredible. Didn't have the Mario parties. I'm not big into the Mario parties. That started on that console as well. But there's stuff like Body Harvest, which is a Rockstar game, I believe. Conquer I didn't play back then, like originally when it came out. My first, I think, experience was the remake on the original Xbox. And then I've played some of it on the Rare Replay. There's another regret. When newer consoles were coming out and stores had an oversupply of older shit, the Toys R Us in Massapequa had like 30 copies, obviously sealed, of Perfect Dark, selling for $3. This was probably like 2002 maybe, and 2003 maybe a little later. And I was like, I didn't end up buying any, but I was just like, I should just buy a bunch of these. Why I didn't, I don't know. I mean, I would have since sold them on eBay, but they would have, I don't know why I just bought them for $3. I could have spent $15 and got like $15, $20, got 5-6 copies of the fucking thing, I don't know why I didn't do that. But there's another great shooter by Rare. Some people prefer that to GoldenEye. Just a fantastic console with good stuff. They didn't have the role-playing stuff. They didn't, Final Fantasy, they were done. Square was like, I don't know if Square made any games for Nintendo 64, so they lost that. Some Breath of Fires, didn't it? So it was lacking in that, for sure, but Pilot Wing 64 was cool. I think that and Mario were the 2 launch titles. Wave Race 64 is another one I had. Awesome fucking game. Even the water in that game was incredible. Wave Race 64, another fantastic game. That and Pilot Wings I had forgotten about. I had those too. Just a fantastic console. Love chatting about it. If you guys like this, I've done one previously. If you like this, I've done other consoles in the past, but I could redo them again. But yeah, just the Nintendo 64 Ramble. The weird controller. solid titles. And jaw-dropping for the time. I'm sure PlayStation was as well. If you had that and you first saw it, you're like, holy shit. Because there's such a jump from the 16-bit era. But yeah, thanks for